Welcome back, guys. What have we been up to at the cabin? Stay tuned. Well, it's been a hot, dry summer and we haven't had a lot of rain around here. It's just been awful. Though, you know, we're under forest fire ban right now and have been for a few weeks. Hopefully that lifts soon, but I'm not optimistic based on the forecast. So it's been a summer with very few campfires, unfortunately, but we've been up to a few things at the cabin. It's been a kind of a slow construction year at the cabin. We've been really busy with other stuff. Went on a trip to New Brunswick, did some camping, and sometimes when I've been up at the cabin I really haven't been recording. I've just been trying to, you know, relax and stuff like that up here. So we've been up to a few things. I've tried to do a bit of foraging here, but the only luck is sort of the greenery in the field. There's been some wild edibles there. You know, milkweed, lamb's quarters, you know, other stuff to make like medicinal things like sweet fern and heal all, wild basil. But the mushroom foraging has been very, very poor this year. It's just been too dry for them. So I got my mushroom foraging fix in New Brunswick where they had a lot of rain. So anyway, let's see what I've been up to this summer at the cabin. I've managed to get a few clips of what we've been up to. I hope you enjoy it. Something that had to be done this year was redoing the Thompson's water seal on the cabin. So I spent all of yesterday doing that and also removing a lot of the cocoons from some of the insects over the summer. They had really put tons of little cocoons. They're all done and used up, but they were underneath the eave there. And I also re-mouse-proofed the cabin. We're still having mice in the attic. We discovered they were coming in this corner here. Well, the back two corners of the cabin actually under here. So what I had to do, we had to unscrew the siding here and shoot a whole bunch of spray foam up in there with some steel wool, because when we pulled off the siding, all the Roxol insulation was on the ground as well as a bunch of mouse crap. So they were basically running up the wall, going up underneath the soffit there, and then getting into the attic. So both back corners of the cabin had to be treated. That's where I found them. The front corners were already treated last year or a couple years ago, so that wasn't the issue. In the past I also did caulking all up and along here, so in case they ran up the siding and tried to squish in underneath the soffit. Now they can't do that, so I hope I've solved my problem. Got 3 mice in the last 24 hours, so hopefully that will be the end of them, because it surely is quite a mess to deal with the mice and it really gets stinky, and I want to use that attic space and finish that off to make it a nice place to store our equipment, get some stuff out of the shed. But I don't want to when there's tons of mice up there, so I think I've solved that problem for now. So I'm just tidying up under the roof here of the porch, and I'm finding these really cool butterflies. You can see him right under there. He's sort of roosting. It's called the Compton tortoise shell. There's been a bunch coming and poking out and around underneath the deck here. Apparently they like to overwinter until June. They're really common around, you know, now, July and August, because a bunch of them have just kind of come out of their chrysalises. And apparently they overwinter under places like this, so maybe these guys are sort of scouting out areas for this winter and just having a little nap this afternoon. How cool is that? Another project is organizing this shed. So everything's out on the ground now. It's quite the mess. But we're gonna finish this shed. So there it is. It's all emptied out. It's kind of a little bunky in here. You'd probably, some people could turn this into like a little outpost or something like that. So just cleaned all the mouse crap out of here. We're looking at putting some more plywood down on the floor here and sealing in the walls a bit, painting it white, and then trying to get all that stuff back in here in a more orderly fashion. Of course, the outside has to get finished, so we're gonna side it, put a few vents there on the roof. It's already got shingles on it, so that's okay. And maybe clean up some of the old construction waste we've got on this side of it. Quite a bit of work ahead of us, but we gotta get this done by fall. Tired of looking at it unfinished. And through the magic of television, it's all done. So what a difference it makes to organize this and to finish the shed. So we added an extra bit of plywood on the floor, made some walls, painted them white, organized the tools. Huge difference. It's like we gained so much extra space in here, even though we lost, you know, some by closing in the walls. But having the tools hung up like that is amazing. Cleaned up some garbage and got a little extra wall space there to make more shelves. And of course I always had to put up my metal signs there. The plywood now has been replaced with decking, so there's less likely to have water pooling against the structure. And now we're just organizing some stuff outside the shed, and we'll work on finishing it when we're up here next. I've tried to get out and do some foraging, but the woods are so dry. We're still in the drought fire ban. There are really very few mushrooms around, and the ones I found are basically inedible. The hummingbirds have been pretty active this summer. We have a male and female breeding pair, and they've been really draining my feeder. I've got one feeder here, and I also have the window feeder. So there's less competition for them. It's nice to have the two feeders on the go. The little dots in the window are working out really, really well. I've had no bird strikes here this summer, so that is fabulous. I really recommend getting that. Managing to get out and do a little bit of foraging for milkweed pods. So you can see here I'm getting the smaller pods here to make a salad. You don't want the big ones because they taste kind of tough. So if you get them when they're about an inch or so long, they'll make a good meal. Remember to always prepare milkweed. There are toxic varieties. This one's non-toxic. However, you want to prepare it by, boiling it well, because it does have an irritant in it. Always make sure you're preparing your wild edibles properly. I made a video a little while back about milkweed and chickpea salad, so you can take a look at that. Milkweed's an important food for monarchs, and we certainly have a lot of them this year here at the cabin. I haven't seen a lot of caterpillars, but I've seen a lot of the adult butterflies. So there's one right there sitting on the milkweed as I'm foraging. And this is new since you guys last saw anything about the cabin. So this is going to be our new shower house. So just want to take you inside. It's going to have a deck put down here on the bottom, but this arrived this week. There you go. Oh, it's nice and bright. Try to give you guys perspective here. So it's nice and bright. I already had a little bit of hornets in here, so I've got to put a little nest so we can close the soffit. But we picked this up. It's not quite finished, but it's going to do the job. So we have a shower in here and a composting toilet. So I'm pretty pleased about that. So the plan is to put eaves troughing all around the little shed there, and we're going to bring water into barrels to bring them in for the shower. So that'll be awesome. So we just got to do the siding and the soffit, and I think we're just going to re-level it as well, put it up a little bit higher on bricks, and put the deck, so the old deck that we used to sit on, we're going to sort of stick it under there. So that'll be really nice. So this is the current shower setup right now. I have the USB shower head here, and we just pump it out of these buckets of river water. But it's an outdoor shower, so in the winter time or whatnot, it's not really very fun. So the shower house is going to be a much better option. So the wood just arrived this week to do the siding. So here's the shed that we've renovated, and now, yay, I'm gonna do some siding, kind of like Jason Roberts is doing in his cabin there. You guys should check out Jason's channel if you haven't already. He's got a nice little cabin there in the woods. And yeah, I'm really happy with how it came together in here. It's got a few more things to kind of tidy up, but looks a heck of a lot better than it did. So this is battery powered. It's really neat actually. Our generator just quit, capacitor on it went, so we're gonna have to get that fixed, but we brought this little saw. It's a Ryobi, got a 6.5-inch blade on it, and it runs these 1 Plus batteries, lithium plus, so it works really well actually. So you don't have to worry about the generator. One of these batteries is, I don't know if it's the equivalent of 4 of the regular little batteries that you put in, say, for the drill, because this does definitely take a lot of juice, but it's a great off-the-grid tool option. And it's pretty much almost done. I think it looks really good. Got the back side completely done, except the trim, obviously. And the front trim's done on the window, but the soffit has to be done next. And of course, the third side is done. So this was many hours of work. But that little saw that I showed you earlier by Ryobi was amazing. Only 2 of the 4 amp hour batteries were used to do all this work, and it probably would have gone on forever if the rip cuts for the lathe hadn't been done, because it does chew up the battery to do that. But a lot of these shortcuts are very easy on the battery. So an excellent option for an off-grid saw. And then of course you can just charge the batteries on your generator or your solar system and go at it again. So my potatoes are basically done. The tops are kind of shriveling. And last night I had a good feed of potatoes. They're kind of coming up like new potatoes. Just gonna dig them out. My shovel, of course. Oh, there's some right there. Oh, there's some here too. So these are awesome little new potatoes. Just gonna get my shovel and sort of dig up the whole patch right here and sort of dry them up. So I'm pretty excited. Some of them have like just tons of them, when you lift up the plant. Leave these out in a spot to dry. Grab a few more for supper tonight. This soil is terrible. I think next year I'm going to make a couple of raised beds with actually good soil, but this is little cucumbers. I mean, they look so pathetic. They flowered out, but they're not really doing too much. The green beans did well. I kind of picked most of them clean last night for supper. There's another one there. That's good. So when you come here and have a few little handful of them or whatever for supper. Of course, they don't do as well here. Again, the soil's very, very poor. So next year, the big plan is to put in a couple of raised garden beds. So it's a couple weeks later from when I initially started the video, and we're starting to get a few mushrooms coming up simply because it's rained a couple times. So here's a nice little kind of a coral mushroom there. That's really cool. And here's some acorns. They're starting to fall off the trees here, and it looks like it's going to be a bumper year. My gosh, they are everywhere. And that means it's a good nut crop for the wildlife this year, so they're going to flourish. We see a lot of chipmunks this year because nut crop's been good the last couple of years. And of course, these are wild edible for us as well. These ones come from a red oak though, so they're very rich in tannins, and they would need to be properly prepared prior to, you know, turning them into, some people like to make acorn flour and stuff like that, but you gotta leach them in fast running cold water to get the tannins out or you'll be sick. So yeah, it's really good to see a good nut crop this year. Ooh, there's a really big hedgehog. This is awesome. I'm gonna harvest this one. Let's take a closer look. So here's one of my most favorite mushrooms. It's called the hedgehog mushroom. Let's take a look at what makes it special. So this one's really unique. It actually looks like 2 that grew into 1, but take a look underneath. This is a toothed fungus, and by that I mean you can see those little tiny teeth underneath the cap. This is a fantastic mushroom. It is the best tasting mushroom as far as I'm concerned. And I did a whole video on foraging them last year, and they're coming up a little bit later this year, obviously, because it's been so dry. But after a few days of rain here, look at that beautiful specimen. Can't wait to get that in the frying pan. Of course, the chanterelles have just started coming out as well. You guys were introduced to them in New Brunswick. As you can see right there what I mean, they have the false gills. They aren't little flappy long gills that you would see in other mushrooms. This one's again chewed up by the insects. Everything's thrilled to have mushrooms popping up again, including foragers like myself. This is a little chewed up specimen. The slugs usually like to get at these things, so you can see them drilling little holes in there and eating them. Here's a few better looking ones. Look at this one. Perfect. No to little bug damage. I'm gonna harvest these ones. And here's a familiar fungus. Some of you guys have been following my videos. I'll give you a second to see if you can identify this one. It's a little beaten up, but you'll remember it from my spring video. If you guessed dryad saddle, you'd be right. So these do come up again in the fall, and they're in the spring as well. So nice. This one's a little bit older. They do come up really quickly when they do. This one's come up here in the exact spot last year. It wouldn't be a cabin video without some trail cam stuff, so let's see what we've got in the trail cams recently. Thanks so much for watching today, guys. I hope you guys have a good week as always. Take care.